Marfoogle TV live in 3. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to get into, so let's get right into it. Turkey bars Israeli ships and restricts their airspace. Again, Turkey has decided to bar Israeli vessels from using its ports, forbid Turkish ships from using Israeli ports, and impose restrictions on some planes entering Turkish airspace, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said on Friday. He provided few details in the comments to Parliament, which appeared to summarize steps that Turkey has already taken against Israel over the conflict in the Strip. Of course, they have started to implement. Now, Turkey and Israel do not get along. Turkey is, of course, a NATO ally, and there has been kind of this brewing trouble between the two for a very long time. Turkey has fiercely criticized Israel's offensive in the Strip and accuses it of committing genocide in the Palestinian enclave, a charge that Israel denies. Ankara has halted all trade with Israel, called for international measures against it, and urged world powers to stop supporting Israel. Remember, Turkey has one of the largest manned militaries in the Middle East, and of course, they try to use it anytime they can. We're going to talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show, so stick around. We will be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Where to teach everyone how to ride. All right, what is going on, guys? Hey, Foogle fam. It looks like we've got a lot of really awesome people already in the chat. Thank you guys for making it. Thank you, everybody that has just made it to any of our shows, frankly, after a huge, almost the entire month we were down. So thank you guys for showing love. Thank you guys for sharing us out to people. Of course, thank you for everything. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, and then let's go into the next piece here. So NATO warships are actually sailing into the Barents Sea. Do you want to go over the details with that?
Yeah, so as of Friday morning, a multinational group of naval vessels has sailed north or east of the North Cape in the Barents Sea. The Norwegian frigate Thor Heyerdahl and leads the way, followed by naval logistics vessel Maud and at least two more warships from other NATO countries. The military spokesperson, Bjørnar Stordal, confirms that the Barents Observer that the naval vessels are operating together north of Finnmark. But we want to show our presence with allied forces in the northern part of Norway. So if you're not familiar with the Barents Sea, it's that area below the Arctic, above Russia, and above, say, Finland. And they're moving these, I don't call it an armada, but at least a large grouping of ships that are from multiple NATO countries, specifically into that area, because it's an area that would be heavily utilized by Russia and would also be very threatening towards Russia. So this type of presence is one that's meant to be, showing a sign of force and sort of poking the bear, as we like to say.
And if you look at where this is, it brings up, we're going to be talking about Greenland as well. Obviously, the president has suggested many times that they would love to buy the island or to pay to essentially run it. If not, they've even threatened to take it by force. And I think that people are going to realize, I believe that if this is about resources, if it's about metals, if that's truly the undermining thing on top of the detection and protection of our country, I think that it will be taken by force. Like we haven't seen something like that in a very long time. But if you look at Russia and China and where they are, Greenland is sort of right in between that. It's a midway point. So it's definitely a very, very strategic place to have. Not to mention where we are right now outside of Russia with all of NATO. If we ran this, you would have NATO on this side and NATO on this side of that huge opening. They could then try to control it. All right, and then we have OpenAI's ChatGPT gave instructions on how to a sports hall and weaponize anthrax. So I was just talking about this last week on how when Grok first came out, its competitor, it was like you had all of these things that you could do with it. I mean, you could ask it like, hey, how do I take out Elon? And it would actually give you not only detailed instructions, but give you times that he would be around. It got information that nobody knew how it even got. It says, hey, at 5 p.m., he's going to be coming out of this door at SpaceX because he's doing an interview, and he'll have to leave through this door. I mean, like crazy stuff like that. Dex, do you want to talk about this? I mean, this is just yet another scary thing that GPT or all of these AIs are doing.
Exactly, and they're getting hit left and right. Excuse me, my voice is a little off today. They said an artificial intelligence bot, obviously ChatGPT, gave Bofins instructions on how to plant those things into a sports arena. The advice came from the model and included suggested weak points at the arena. It provided recipes, so to speak, to help them, and also how to cover their tracks according to the testing that was carried out. This is coming from it says OpenAI chat model GPT 4.1, also detailed how to do some things with anthrax and make 2 different types of illegal substances as well. So all of these activities and actions are coming out from the AI, and people are finding ways in which to circumvent the guide rails. They try to put in guide rails and prevent people from, getting to this knowledge or having it suggest negative things that could harm someone. But people are finding ways, and it's part of the sort of a hacking, if you want to call it that, method in which they try to, get around the guardrails and see if they can get these AI systems to, I wouldn't say tell the truth, but like not follow their rules and, speak about any piece of content that they possibly can that they know they're knowledgeable about. And in this case, obviously, not just explicit, but illicit types of information that can cause harm in a significant way.
I mean, the creepy things that AI, people forever will be probably along my lines of thought too, that we're afraid of AI, that we do not like where technology is going. We don't like where tracking and tracing is going. We would rather go backwards. I frankly would love the amount of technology that we had probably in the late 80s. Honestly, I would love it if we went back to that. I don't think I would miss, even if I couldn't do what I do today, because it wouldn't be possible. I think that I would be happy in a world like that, even if I was doing whatever job. If I had to work at McDonald's every single day, I would be happier with late 80s technology rather than today. There's a lot of things that we've become dependent on, and we really don't realize like how dependent we are on all of this stuff. But to really see where AI is going and how fast, I mean, you cannot go anywhere, and especially anywhere online, and not see it. I mean, heck, you go to go to DuckDuckGo now. You go to DuckDuckGo, and they have their duck.ai. Everything is AI. Every single article, every single video has an AI assistant that can give you the highlights. People are going to dumb down. I mean, like, this is straight out of Idiocracy. Dex, you did see Idiocracy, right? I think.
Oh, yeah. I saw it.
So it's a classic movie. If you haven't seen it, you have been under a rock for 30 years, because it is one of the best movies that projects our future that you could possibly get. And it is so eerily accurate to how close things are right now. It's even down to how everyone wears Crocs. That is no joke, a joke in that movie, and everyone in the future wears Crocs. But as far as that movie, it projects, this world where everyone gets dumber and dumber and dumber until they just barely can function. They can't get the square in the circle hole, or they can't get the circle in the circle hole. They put it in the square. That is happening, and people don't realize it. But this is proven too. They said that in 2010 is when our IQ peaked, and it's slowly downgrading. It's slowly going down. We're not using our hippocampus anymore. We're depending on GPS. We're depending on the computer to spell things for us. We're depending on it for everything. People don't even know how to navigate anymore. Just imagine when all of this gets cut off, when we have a world without any of it. Dex, do you know somebody in your life that if GPS went off, they would not be able to get anywhere?
Well, yeah, and I know some people in life that are geographically challenged that, even with GPS have a hard time, but that can, that varies by person. But yeah, everybody these days doesn't, pretty much doesn't have an atlas book in their car, or the county maps or the state maps in their car like we did when we were kids. They were in the glove box, and you'd pull them out and you'd figure out where you're going if you're taking a day trip somewhere, and you'd sort of read the map and figure it out. I even remember the days when the online tools would allow you to print the map and take it with you. So you thought that was kind of cool, because you might not have had an updated map from the gas station, or the ones they were selling were outdated. But yeah, without GPS, I think most people would be lost nowadays.
And nor do we have payphones anymore. Like I always wondered, I don't know how much it costs to keep upkeep of a payphone every, 30 blocks, or just any, having a phone, a landline telephone, a payphone every once in a while. Now, Dex, I haven't been to Europe, but do they still have the red telephone booths? I assume that they still have those just because it's a tourist thing, but they still have those, correct? Those big.
I think they had them when I was in London. I remember seeing them, but I don't know that they were they were everywhere. I think it was more touristy.
But it was a landline telephone that was every so often. I mean, heck, I don't even know if they have the ones on the freeways anymore. They would have, if you had an emergency, you could walk a certain amount of miles and you would find some sort of payphone. I don't know if they still have that. I think they should. But you don't, with all of these things, all depending on the electrical grid, just really think, if any country really wants to do us harm, all they have to do is go for our grid. And it's really crazy because out of many things that they could go after, the grid is actually one of the most vulnerable. So I really hope that people are paying attention to this, slowly getting their families to prepare in any way possible. That, that doesn't mean panic them. It means give them a reason, put the seed in their head that they should be doing it. It's responsible, that it's not crazy. Numbers 62426. Thank you so much for your support. It looks like you did 2 supers. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for doing a PayPal. I appreciate that. Dan says, thank you. Supers didn't work, so I'm trying it over here. Thank you, Dan, and I really, really appreciate that. And then Rapture Ready says, glad to have you back, even with the heat. Yeah, today is not so bad. Last night I almost actually had to go to the hospital because of just I couldn't breathe. So I apologize. In the shoutro, it wasn't much of a shoutro. I actually ended up having to cut it short. So I'm so sorry about that for you guys. And then let's see here. And before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Show. That's one of our biggest recommendations as far as being able to protect yourself. If there is an electromagnetic pulse attack on our grid, this is how you protect your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, your boats, generators, everything. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. I know that some of you have heard this a million times, but there's a reason for that. We don't just switch affiliates out. We don't roll in ball shavers. We don't suggest that you buy stuff that we've never used, or that stuff that's just rotated out because we have a slot open. We pick all of our affiliates based on, do we think that this is going to save your life, help you through a disaster, or make you comfortable throughout one. So again, that's our kind of parameters for picking one. Now, this brand and this company is literally one of the best companies that anyone has dealt with. Anybody in the Fugel family that's dealt with them will tell you that. I mean, gosh, they have huge government contracts, just giant working with just gigantic companies and with pretty much the whole country now. And the frickin' owner, or one of the founders, frickin' sat there and walked one of the Fugel fam through installing a home unit. So that's the kind of company they are. It's, again, something that I look for. I'm very old school. I would like things to be built like they used to be, where they're going to last for a very, very long time. And you just don't see that very often anymore. You do it this all American down to the screws, and you know it's not hackable, and again, it will protect you against both CME and EMP. MarFugelNews.com/EMP, code MARF for $50 off per device. And then Trump, Greenland, and the covert activity that has Denmark on high alert. So as we just talked about Denmark over on news, and how, you know, Denmark and Norway and the Netherlands are all helping in this a big operation that's going on in the Barents Sea. Dex, do you want to talk about the covert activity going on with this whole Greenland situation?
Yeah, so this is a sort of a report coming in from that's trying to allege covert U.S. operations in Greenland and in Denmark aimed at undermining the relationship between the two to facilitate a potential American takeover. And of course, the allegations are pointing the finger directly at the Trump administration. So according to a Danish broadcaster, the agents reportedly were linked to him, to the president's organization or administration, and have compiled a list of Greenlandic supporters and opponents of U.S. takeover, and gathering historical grievances, exploiting, building relationships with local leaders, all sorts of tactics. And they of course, as in any time somebody that's against the Don will say, oh, these tactics are the same tactics used by the World War II German military, or the spies really, before they started the World War II. And also they're the same tactics used by Russian intelligence before invading Ukraine. So they paint a negative picture, of course, because that helps their story. They're not going to tell a rosy story if they're trying to tell a negative story. But it's based on interviews with about 8 different sources, and it's prompted Denmark's foreign minister to summons the Charge d'Affaires, which is basically the sit-in for the ambassador for the U.S. there in Denmark. So they obviously have some serious concerns. They want to discuss this. And, given the fact that the U.S. does want does want Greenland and wants it from Denmark, it's easy to say, okay, well, this could have been a tactic and there could be some truth to this. So they can paint that picture, or maybe there is some truth to it. Who knows? That's what's the question that's up in the air right now.
Yeah, and that quote again, what has been described to us by sources is a clandestine or covert operation designed to create a kind of Greenlandic liberation movement that could tear apart the relationship between Denmark and Greenland, and thus pave the way for a U.S. takeover of Greenland. They have 50,000 people living there. So you would think that most people, I mean, I've lived in a city, I've lived in a place of 6,000 people, and almost everyone knew almost everyone. I can imagine it's not that, I mean, 50,000 is quite a bit bigger than that. But I pretty much guarantee that if someone all of a sudden goes, yeah, I think we should be American, people would probably notice. So I wonder how they go about this. Are they paying certain people to put the seed and say, hey, I would actually rather that America run us? Or are they doing things, are they taking out, could they even be taking people out? If there's somebody who's a strong resistance to the U.S. taking over and is constantly out, feet to the pavement trying to stop it, who knows if that guy just accidentally slips on the ice, that kind of thing. But it shows that if this is true, and I believe that it probably is. Dex, I mean, what personal opinion, do you think this is probably happening? I think it would be.
It's typical when you want to see regime change in a country. In this case, you could draw a sort of correlation of that. You would go find opposition to the current regime, and you would support them. You would support their movement. You would give them funds. You would help them grow. You would help get their movement stronger and bigger, so that they could topple the incumbent government, so that you could then create regime change. That's regime change 101. It's happened across the globe. America has been involved in it just as much as any other large country that may have some sort of involvement has done, whether it's through, electoral process influence or other things, even protests. We've seen it, what do they call them, color revolutions, things like that. So it's not an uncommon tactic. And at the same time, if you were to think, hey, America really wants in on Greenland, and we're told that nobody wants it, well, is that true? Is there really, maybe there's 10% of the people there that are for it. So wouldn't America want to go talk to those 10% and say, what makes you so for it? And, is there something here that could help grow and sway the opinions of the other, 90% that don't see it your way? So, yeah, it's very much possible, in my opinion.
I would think I don't know. You would think that if they are offering more money, or if that things will be easier for the Greenlanders, that it would be easier. But Greenland is extremely important for us. If we could have control over Greenland, if you look at the positioning of it, if you look where it is, as far as it is in between us and China and Russia, or at least it's in kind of that halfway point where it would be a very, very strategic place to not only just put our detection, we have our detection and monitoring systems there, we have a base there, but we do not have interception. Interception is something that is stopped by an agreement, and I believe the last agreement was back in 2015. I could be wrong on the year. It might be 2016. There was some sort of agreement or treaty or something that essentially ruled that out. So it is a part of that. If we could put interception there, that would be a giant deal. Who knows if we'll need it with this new Golden Dome system that they're developing, but most likely that's probably already been kind of factored in. Like they probably need Greenland for some of that or for a system like that. So the gold. And go ahead.
And who knows if the information that they've fed us for the last year or 6-7 months now, which is, nobody in Greenland wants to become America. Who knows if that's even true, right? Because the same reason you say, hey, it's small and there's only 50,000 people, that makes it even easier for a country like Denmark or NATO countries or the powers that be or anyone else that can wield power or with the media to spin and create that story, and all of a sudden we all believe it because it's easy to cover up. It's not, it's not easy for, us to necessarily get the truth about what may be kind of happening in a country. So it could literally not be as grandiose as they say it. Like 80, 85, 90% of all people in Greenland don't want to do a deal with America. What if the truth is really, it's significantly different than that, and they've just been covering it up this whole time?
Well, and, it was looked at as a joke. When this first was talked about, people thought it was a joke, just as they thought it was a joke that, Donald was running. But this is not a joke. This is something that plays into a bigger picture that many people don't even see yet. The majority of people in the United States, a lot of people don't even watch the news. If they do watch the news, it's only when it's something absolutely so horrific that everybody's talking about it, and then they get kind of the highlights of it. Not many people are like all of us. I know most of the people in our community, you guys are all looking at every single thing that comes out. Many of you are at 4 a.m. if something happens, you know about it, and that's because I guess you could call us the watchers, right? We're always watching what's going on. Now, we also know that we're getting fed propaganda more than half of the time. So we really have to look at a big picture, and you really have to put together what looks right with the bigger picture in mind. Because just one piece, it might be false or propaganda, but maybe it's 80% propaganda, 20% truth. That 20%, we might be able to get it to 100% if we know 5 other stories that do actually put it all together. This is a puzzle, and nobody can predict exactly when this is all going to fall apart, but almost everyone knows that it is. It's just a matter of time. As far as a world war, if you look at all of these attempts to have the U.S. either grab something or protect something, it's obviously because there's something coming. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Blue Boy Chabel says, hi there, Adam and Dex. On payphones, we still got them here in Australia, but you can make free phone calls to anywhere in Australia, even to mobiles. So, Blue Boy, that is freaking like, first of all, I don't know how much it costs. I'm sure there is a kind of a big chunk of change. But think about how much money the United States has given to other countries, how much money we have frankly wasted, how much money they've given to freaking, news companies, and how much money they've given for, condoms for kids or whatever the heck other programs that they had going on. And then think about how much it would run to run, payphones across our country, or a protected, phone system where people could get a hold of people. It's just assumed that you should have a cell phone. Well, I still know only a couple people that my uncle and then my sister finally has a cell phone. She watches this show on it. But my uncle, he's probably one of the last one. I got him a cell phone and he ended up losing it and never got another one again. So there's still people out there without cell phones. But the fact is that they look at that and say that, everybody has to have one. To me, it's very obvious what it is. They've made it so where you have a fingerprint sensor, an eye sensor, a literal tracker in the phone. It knows exactly where you're going. And now they're putting everything, they've already put, how to pay and do all of this with it. It's your own personal tracking device. That's why I highly recommend people realize that no matter if you are doing a crime or not, it should be your right to be able to move freely without being tracked and traced. Highly recommend Faraday bags. Dex,
less than 2%. Less than 2% don't have a cell phone in America.
Isn't that crazy? Think about that. And that means, and that they did the Obama phones, right? And some of you may be watching on it, which I know it's helped a lot of people. My sister has one. But, those phones, it's... people don't realize, like, if something's free, it's not truly free. There's always something behind it. And including those phones, they're usually one of I don't know how they are now, but it used to be you got one of like 3 models or whatever, or you just got the one they gave you. They initially had Obama phones that didn't have the touchscreen on it, but how could they sell you stuff, and how could they, get extra contracts and put bloatware and floatware and whatever else in it? So yeah, be aware of that. I think we should have payphones again. I don't know why nobody fought to keep them. It's pretty stupid to me. Dex, go over the Russian missile pounds Ukraine.
Okay, so look, these attacks between Russia and Ukraine, we talked about Ukraine striking the gas refinery systems. We've talked about Russia's recent incursion, capturing more territory. I think maybe a week or so ago, we were talking about one of the U.S.-backed factories. That was a U.S.-owned factory there in Ukraine getting hit. So the escalation, even though we're supposed to be in this time of talking about peace, just continues to amplify, which I think just sort of goes back to the whole fact that this whole notion of peace ain't going to happen anytime soon. But most recently, with one of the recent rounds of attacks from Russia, they hit Ukraine with deadly missiles and drone strikes, and the sweeping attack that the U.S. Special Envoy in Ukraine said, obviously undermined the peace efforts. But the big story was that one of those attacked areas was the area of the EU and the British offices. They were damaged. So again, a strike in that location where they are located, and the strike actually damaging those buildings for the European Union and the British offices in Ukraine.
Yeah, and of course, every time we see a story that essentially attaches that Russia or its proxies have hit an item within Europe, they're building kind of a case here. Yesterday we covered it, or it was the day before, about how there was sabotages and fires in the warehouses. I forget what one of the other one was. Wasn't it a train line or something that was messed with? There were quite a few events that happened. But they're building this thing where essentially there are attacks in Europe. They're building a case for Europe versus Russia. With these build up. And once this is put in your mind enough times, people will just assume that NATO and Russia are going to go to war. This is something that they're going to pick up. This is all going to keep going up and up and up. It's history repeating itself. And then, again, they said that they, at least the 21 people perished in that capital. I just wonder who else was involved in that, if there was any names in there that we should know about. All right, and then thank you, Darren. I appreciate that. And then we're going to talk about the other package that just got unveiled. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out Energy, especially while they have them in stock. If you haven't heard about the Tactical, this is one of our best and most suggested as far as a solar generator. It is a absolute unit. This thing is built from reinforced steel. Of course, it has the snap together clamps, so you can quickly go from 1 battery to 5 to 50. It can be modded. It can, of course, deal with cold temperatures. It has a heater built in. It, of course, has fans for hot weather. It is just an absolute beast. This thing, again, like I said, is built like things used to be. This thing is meant for the longevity. If you want something that's going to last a long time, highly recommend this over any Amazon cheapo solar generator, including the ones that are made from a company that's most likely, manufactured and programmed in China. This is all front-loaded. You know that this is not going to be hacked when anything goes down, because they do it all here. They make sure that everything, including all of the software, hardware, everything is front-loaded in the U.S. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and the code Marfoogle. Again, the Flex 1500 is their other unit. That one is basically paused indefinitely. This one will be once they run out of this batch. This would be a permanent affiliate of ours if it wasn't put on pause. They've paused it for Dex. How long have they stopped selling these? Probably a year, at least.
Yeah, they were on hiatus for at least a year. It was that military contract that just completely overwhelmed them, and I'm surprised they were willing to bring, a very small, limited set of this military product to the market. And when I say that, to the consumer market where we all can get access to them. So, get them while you can. It's because we don't know how much longer they will be around. And I do know that they are doing certain things like this. One of the great things about this one, Adam, is the fact that it is front loaded here in America. As far as all the software, nothing is backed on China. And I know that where they're going with it in the future is to try to get 100% of the manufacturing of it done, even the cells assemblies done in America, which it just isn't happening. It doesn't happen at all. It has to happen in China. So the fact that they're moving towards that also will probably mean a price increase on these in the near future when those eventually do become 100% American.
Yeah, because you're going to deal with American everything: American wages, American parts, American manufacturing, American IT. So highly recommend it. Again, that contract hit, and then it was like boom. People were Fugel fam waited 6, 7, 8 months for their regular flexes and for the tacticals. You don't have to do that if they have them. If it allows you to buy it, that means that it's in stock and they ship it right out, which is pretty awesome. And again, fortunate for those who ordered now rather than a couple years ago. And then Trump unveils another $825 million arms deal to Ukraine. Everybody is talking about peace, but they're sending them more stuff. I mean, obviously, the whole fake peace thing is getting on my nerves. I don't know how many of you really don't believe that there is going to be any kind of peace between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, most believe that it's going to get worse, that there's going to be some sort of kickoff event that just spirals this out of control. I'm not trying to be a half glass empty guy, but that's what the pattern shows me. That, I've been watching this for years. I believe that this is going to be a small story compared to the big one, which is World War III. Everybody is they're all coordinating to essentially act together. And I think there's a lot of stalling and a lot of actions happening right now that show you that this is going to be long term. This is one of them. I mean, Dex, they're doing another $825 million, 3,350 ERAMs. That's just a small chunk compared to what they are possibly getting in the future. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything's slowing down.
No, from a peace standpoint, no. The one thing I will say is that on one hand, rewind 6, 7 months ago when we were reporting on these types of transactions, they were costing us like it was coming out of our dollar. I can't tell you how many trillions we've sent in the prior administration. I can't remember how to tell you how many times we reported, oh, this package, this package, this package, and it was all the taxpayers paying for it. So these are all coming from NATO funds. So this is actually money that flows directly into America buying that equipment. But certainly from a peace point of view, it shows no sign of stopping. It shows everything about just continuing to push the weaponry in there. So if it's not Ukraine, then it's going to be Venezuela. And, I know we're going to talk about that too. But yeah, nothing in this world right now shows any signs towards like everything becoming peaceful. Everything is just ramping up.
Yeah, and in fact, so with Venezuela, now there is a potential attack happening here. I'm going to go over and I'm going to just 1 second. Let me see here. Let me pop over here and I'm going to pull this up. And then check this out. So Venezuela prepares for a potential U.S. attack with armed drones designed by Iran. So we already know that the Venezuela or Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, ended up mobilizing at least 4.5 million militia. They said that they are essentially getting them ready for any kind of conflict, right? Then, of course, they said that they moved troops into ways, and then they said that they, of course, the U.S. deployed warships to Venezuela, and in response to that, Venezuela actually deployed ships themselves. Now, it says when Venezuela leader Hugo Chavez appeared on nationwide TV broadcasts in June 2012, proudly announcing that his country was now manufacturing unmanned aircraft, the news took both supporters and critics by surprise. In a defiant tone, the president showcased 3 prototypes, saying that the country had the right to build them, while claiming that they were not armed. Again, it said that today, as the Caracas regime declares it will deploy drones to defend itself amid growing tensions triggered by the dispatch of more than half a dozen powerful U.S. warships to the waters off of the Caribbean coast, few people know the details of how Venezuela developed one of Latin America's most advanced unmanned aircraft programs. Fewer still know an element associated with the program that has sparked interest and alarm. That from some officials in Washington, the drones, though built on Venezuelan soil, are controlled to some extent by Iran. I have talked about this numerous times about the connections between Iran and, of course, Venezuela. Of course, there have been some pretty crazy ops that have happened over the years. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was essentially a cargo ship of Iran's that was turned into a carrier. They literally took a regular cargo ship that would have containers and turned it into a carrier. I believe that was the one that sunk. Either way, there was 2 ships involved in the news for weeks, and it was a lot of buzz about it because Iran was heading to Venezuela or heading over to that area. And then it ended up sinking, mysteriously. Of course, I'm sure there was some sort of cover story back then. But over the years, everyone has known that Iran and Venezuela have been super, super close. They've been working together. And Venezuela, of course, is very, very close with Russia and very, very close, I believe, with China, now that they have built tons of different things in their country via, China actually building it there. So Venezuela, this is, people look at this as a possible proxy, or that we might go over and try to help Guyana. This is all about the drug trafficking. This is bigger than that. And I think, Dex, this is the scary part. If there's quite possibly troops and different ships going all over the world preparing for that coordinated event that we are talking about. A lot of people talked about how China has the conditions to actually attack Taiwan this month. I believe that if it, it's unlikely that it will happen right now, but I think it would happen by next year. But who knows? At this point, Dex, do you get my meaning? Like, literally, you have every country that we've talked about being in a potential war now all at the very, very edge of it.
Well, certainly. And the fact that we're now tying Iran directly to the weapon systems being used potentially by Venezuela is very easily going to be able to tie Iran to the actions and consequences that happen when that goes hot. And I think that's important to understand, because that will, take this much more from just Guyana or even cartels. But we know there has been a direct flow and an influence in Venezuela. It's been reported numerous times. We've talked about it here for at least a couple of years about Hezbollah, which was obviously we all think about as in Lebanon, but it also is in Venezuela. And that is an Iranian-backed militia group. So if that ends up somehow, in addition to things like this weaponry being finger pointing back to Iran, you're going to see that anything that happens with Venezuela can also have an effect in the Middle East. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see some sort of correlation between those two at a geopolitical standpoint if things go hot. And, we don't know where if cool heads actually prevail when it comes to Maduro, or if, it's going to be easy for, an incident like you see in the South China Sea with the U.S. Navy and these drones to turn into something really big, really quick. And I think that's the interesting thing we're going to have to pay close attention to in the coming days, weeks, maybe even months on this.
I mean, we have the deployment right now, and how many people at work do you hear even talking about this? Personally, I have not heard many people even, aware of this happening. We have 6 warships headed to or nearby Venezuela. This could go hot. I mean, they could do several strikes. This whole thing could be very they or it could be very quick and then start off a huge chain of events. I'm sure they're aware of the chain events that could start, but that's why I think that they are not telling us everything, obviously, but they're not telling us a lot. They're not telling the majority of the people that all of this is connected, that everything, including the South Korean situation, South Korea, North Korea, Russia, Ukraine, Iran and Israel, China and Taiwan, Venezuela and Guyana, it's all connected. It is all part of the same big plan. And we're going to see that eventually. By the time people see it and by the time people go, oh, maybe I should prep, it's going to be too late. It's going to be done. It's going to be started. And in the majority of cases, I think that people will be caught with their pants down. Pardon my French. I don't know. Did the French talk about that? Probably. But you get my meaning. I think that this is something where we very well could have in the next couple days a huge event go down, and most people aren't even aware it's even happening. Just ask some of your friends, like, oh, did you hear about Venezuela? They'll probably say something about the cartels or something else, but do they know that a huge chunk of our military's headed out there? Yeah, these are our men and women that are heading towards danger. So the danger is real. Happy Labor Day weekend, Foogle fam. Stay safe. Delta Wildman. Hey, thank you for the support. And Billy, thank you for the PayPal. I appreciate that as well. Thank you. Here's for a dehumidifier. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, thank you for the support. And then Darren. Looks like $2 PayPal as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Couldn't say thank you enough to everybody that supports the show. Most though, please share us out with friends and family. That's the only way we can get out. And make sure if you can, of course, try to check out all of our friends and family over on marfooglenews.com/friends. Again, we've got lots and lots of great people out there as well. So make sure to go check out the mods. Drop an M in the chat for the mods as well. They are absolutely awesome. Make sure to go check out all their channels, their books, all of their links. They are awesome people. They've been around for a very long time. So thank you. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And make sure to go over to the website where you have a full bibliography. Every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is all right there at your fingertips. Not to mention, if you need any of the affiliates mentioned today and you don't remember the link, there are boxes to the right that have all of them, including stuff that we didn't talk about today. Jace, definitely go check that out. That's where you can get a kit right to your door with all of the most common antibiotics in it. Of course, you've got MyMedic, the incredible first aid kits, and of course, prep food at marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you guys, and we appreciate you. Much love. Thank you so much for everybody that is here. We are now going to do a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. I'm so happy that I found my friends. I just wish it wasn't the world's doomed to end. I'm so happy that I found my friends. I just wish it wasn't the world's doomed to end. About my soul on the south side, where to teach everyone how to ride.